Hello and welcome to Optimal Game State. Today I'm going to talk about Warcry. We're going to talk about the current situation, where it could be going, and at the very end I'm going to talk about a project I'm working on myself in the background. This video is called Long Live the King because, as far as I'm concerned, Warcry is the king of miniature gaming. But the expression as it goes is, the king is dead, long live the king. And right now, we don't really know if Warcry is alive or if Warcry is dead. And this kind of came out of one of the recent discussions that popped up on the Warcry Discord, because people were wondering why last year there had been a little bit of discussion about it, about maybe some kind of player-run thing, stepping in where GW are kind of dropping the ball, but nothing ever came of it. And part of that was because many of the content creators, like myself, I guess, aren't willing to declare Warcry dead yet. We're still hoping for some support from GW. And, as we'll see, we did get it last year. So that kind of put things on hold for a little bit. So, if we go all the way back, bottom right, you can see we got that Warcry MetaWatch, which was super, super positive. It was really, really nice. All the way back in May 24. There's two articles there that are releases for the Terratic cohort against a Twist Weld. So that was a big box that came out. Then we got a big FAQ, top right. You can see this 27th of September 24. That gave us all of the Dark Oath. I love that brand's Oathbound, actually. That's a really, really cool little group. We got all of those Redemption, Wretched, something, whatever that new chamber is for the Stormcast. And then we didn't really get anything until the 26th of August, 2025. So just when people were talking about it, it was like the start of August. We hadn't seen anything there for basically a full year. So September all the way up to August. So discussions were wondering, where do we go next? GW hasn't done anything for a year. Obviously, they dropped that in, which was great. It was a really, really good update. So the FAQ had a couple of changes to the core rules, a couple of tweaks, a point rebalancing a little bit, and then a couple of new models. We basically got updated when everything was there. A few months after that, we got the health minutes, but after that, we haven't had anything. And we're kind of back in the situation where now, that was November, so December, January, February, March, April, May. Are we in May yet? No, we're in April. So that's been 5 months that we still haven't had anything, which is a shame, because we would like to see, more stuff from GW. But let's say the king is dead. What happens next? So this is something that we kind of need to think about and need to consider. Not necessarily act on, but to consider. First thing I imagine would happen was hopefully some of the community would kind of get together and work out what they're going to do, how they are going to make things going forward. So it could be a player council, it could be like a single person steps ahead. Normally in a lot of these cases you get a council, and then you get one person, and then you get another person, and then you get another council, and there will be a couple of kind of competing points that are trying to essentially become the main source for the new version, the player run version. So obviously the classic example of this is with Blood Bowl, where they really got it together. They kept it going. Now that was partially GW supported. I believe Jervis Johnson helped them get kind of set up and kind of gave good wishes towards it. Okay, so what would they be doing if they managed to get that? So it would be just new FAQs and new profiles. So this is largely around competitive play and keeping points up to date, and more importantly, once new Age of Sigmar models come out, getting rules for them and getting them into rotation into the game. There's a bunch of different things that could happen. There was a big shift up in what we would call kind of second edition for Norwood. It's probably about time for something similar to happen, so a bit of a big shake-up. But initially, I think a player-run thing would have to kind of be an easy touch and kind of take things slowly. Like, they don't want to basically completely change the game overnight. That's not going to really get anywhere. But yeah, new FAQ and new profiles, just some small details would be really, really helpful. And then campaigns and missions are an element that I feel have definitely been neglected. And this is kind of the ancillary stuff. This is the stuff around non-competitive but kind of narrative game. Now, obviously, missions are very competitive, and we've had players create new campaigns and new missions already, which is good. But if we had a player council, if we had a new version of the player Warcry, this would be something to be looking at doing after they got the FAQ new profiles going out. Okay, so that's what it kind of looks like. There's not much in it. Basically, it's what GW have been doing, or we could say what they should be doing. So this is the petition that's doing the rounds. It is bigger than 851 at the moment. It has been increasing quite nicely, I have to say. It's only been a few days out. All they're asking is GW continue to publish those Warcry updates and give us new profiles for new miniatures, occasional FAQ or out of balance updates, and basically acknowledge that Warcry is a great way to get into the Age of Sigmar hobby. What they're not asking is they're not asking for a new box. They're not asking for a new core book, new rules. Warcry can be supported with just PDFs and Age of Sigmar models, and it is very, very low input for GW. And I think it makes sense. Anyway, if you haven't seen this petition already, I know a lot of people don't believe petitions actually get much done, and GW is all about the money, but there's certainly no harm in signing up to it and adding an extra one onto that number. So if you haven't done it yet, it'll be a link in the description. Please do add your name to it. Maybe it won't do anything, but maybe it will do something. Now, the other thing to consider is what happens if Warcry is still alive. If GW keeps supporting it, what do the players end up doing? So this is, Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's war game, basically. Currently, it is both alive and dead, but if it is alive, what can players do? I talked about campaigns and missions already. It is something that we can do. We don't need to worry about FAQs. You don't need to worry about new fighters. And the Sorot Core campaign is one from first edition that one of the players on Reddit a year ago posted his update to that first edition version with a couple of tweaks and a couple of balances, and in the last few weeks has actually made a new version of it, an updated version of it. So this is something that this guy's been working on for about a year. I think it is well worth checking out and see. So it's a full-blown campaign. He's got territories to conquer, you've got artifacts to pick up, and there's a little bit of a balancing system in it as well, which the kind of main campaign probably needs a little bit of. Okay, so that's one thing. Campaigns and missions are something that we can actually create stuff out of and do. We don't need GW for that. If GW are doing it, we'll be doing it. The other thing you can do is alternate settings. Now, what's interesting about Warcry, which I have a previous video on, and the Warcry is about to keep an eye on it. Is about to get a wiki style for the rules and for the fighters, so it's going to be a lot more easy to manage. Something a little bit like Warcry, which is a fantastic resource. But alternate settings. This doesn't compete with Age of Sigmar Warcry. Wartime Warcry is a different vibe, is different fighters. It's a different style. So both of them can exist in the same ecosystem at the same time, if you know what I mean. I did a previous video, again, where we looked at Warcry with Star Wars miniatures, and I had a lot of fun playing that game. So there's lots of different approaches you can take, and I think if GW are supporting Age of Sigmar Warcry and they're putting out rules and models and updates, then something like Warcry can still exist within that ecosystem. We don't need to declare Warcry dead for it to be fun, and there's definitely other scope for that. Now, Warcry was tapping into that wartime vibe, but we probably can do it for other settings and other versions. Right, and that brings me over to what I'm doing at the moment. This is a project I've had happening in the background for, I guess, the last year. I think I probably started working on it when we were looking at the lull before. I'm trying to work out for myself what parts of Warcry I like and what parts of Warcry I would change. And I think this is probably an exercise that would be good for every player we currently have, especially any players who have, who make content, kind of communicate out with other people. it just gives you a better understanding of what you enjoy about the game and what you think you could change. This will be benefit. Oh, so I've already used aspects of this to run a Star Wars game, there was a Stargrave game. I think I've done bits of it with Frostgrave. So for me, it's been beneficial to make those alternate settings and to kind of decouple Warcry from Age of Sigmar and kind of turn it into my own thing and do what I want with it. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to go down the store and get someone playing the same version of a custom game that you play. But what you can do is you can set up a custom game and then just present it to a friend and then, explain the rules to them, explain what's different from Warcry if you're familiar with Warcry, and then play a fun game. I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm trying to capture everything that we've already got in there. I'm using some of the kind of basic structure that the Warcry is doing, which is a fantastic resource, and I'm making the changes that I want for this game. So you can see here, I'm talking about having to do a extra section. So normally that superior, master, and challenging will be the only ones you'd have. So I've also got that desperate and the overwhelming. So if someone is going by I've changed the names as well. So I've changed the names from strength to toughness. But if you had strength greater than 3 greater than toughness, then the idea here is that you would crit on 5s as well, which is a nice bonus. And then if you were 3 worse, you wouldn't get the crit at all. So that's the idea of it. Going to be trying it out. Warcry is doing it with the doubles. I was having a look at that, and I think maybe going with just that 3 difference is probably what I'm looking for. But there's a bunch of other things in here. I'm not going to go through it in this video. I've made so many changes. I've tinkered so much under the hood. It's been a lot of fun. But my point here is this is good for me to understand what I like about Warcry and the modifications I'm making. And what I'm doing with it is I'm trying to put together a set of rules that I can use across multiple settings. So here you can see I've got my Grimdark Future setting, and we have some intercessors geared up and ready to go. So yeah, I'm just a guy putting together numbers and then rolling dice, and that's all it is. But yeah, I'm going to try put together a fantasy section, a modern section. I'm not sure if I can find models for that one yet, but I'll have a look. And then we're going to do some space opera where we'll do some Star Wars. The idea here is, again, for me to put together all the elements I like out of Warcry and structure it in a way that I can use it. And I don't need to worry about whether this war game is alive or dead. This is something I'm going to be doing in the background. Eventually, if it is declared dead, then it is something that I can present and I can bring out and say, look, I think this is a good idea. And I will be one of several people, hopefully, doing this at the same time. And then we wait 6 months and we see who's still around. Normally half the people drop. And then you wait a year and you see who's still around. And then you kind of get to examine the ideas and see what's happening. Now, if GW do decide to keep supporting the game, I'm 100% for it. I would be delighted for them to do that. I want to see plenty of Age of Sigmar releases, and I want to see regular and PDFs go up that we can just have the rules from GW as a central source. But, if they're not going to do that, there will be the possibility for people to step in and this game will keep going because, as I said, Warcry is the absolute king when it comes to war games as far as I'm concerned. I love this game. I think it's just so easy to play. And once you kind of get into it, there's a lot of... It's not the simple game that some people seem to think. I've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not going to over-egg the pudding, as it were. But if you are a Warcry fan and you are still not sure whether this game is alive or dead, think about the game itself and what you would do if you had control of it. And just maybe, work on that project, maybe do a Google Doc, put down some notes, and then just kind of expand it over the next few months. And then maybe we'll find out, and then we'll see, and then hopefully everyone will have a big chunk of notes, and then we can compare and see what the future is going to hold. Anyway, that's all I have for you. Again, if you haven't signed a petition, go check it out in the notes. If you are interested in playing a campaign, that's Sota Core campaign looks really, really interesting. I think it's worth checking out. And then, of course, keep an eye out on Weird Cry. I think in about a week we are going to see a very nice Warcrier style updates of that, so that's worth checking out. All right, have a lovely week, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.